Hi guys, welcome to this short clip on solving quadratics by factorising. Okay, so I'm going to go through 4 different examples on how to solve a quadratic equation using factorising as a technique. Okay, so if we're trying to solve a quadratic equation, an equation has an equal sign in it, we have to make it equal to 0. So this first question we can look at, our quadratic is x squared plus 20x plus 99, and to solve it I've got to make that equal to 0, because what we're doing, if we look at this on a graph, if we were to draw this line on a graph, it's where it would cross the x-axis. We're looking for the roots of the graph. Okay, and we need to make that equal to 0 in order to do it. So first things first, we need to factorise this quadratic. Okay, so I'm looking for a pair of numbers, remember, that are going to multiply together to make 99. So I've got 1 and 99, there could be a few here, 3 and 33, 9 and 11, and I've got negative 1 and negative 99, negative 3, negative 33, negative 9, negative 11. So, now that I've done that, looking for the pair of numbers that are going to add together to make plus 20. Okay, so 100, 36, 20, so it's that pair there. So I'm looking for plus 9, plus 11. So in my 2 brackets, because remember a quadratic has 2 brackets when we factorise, still equal to 0. X plus 9, x plus 11. Okay, so we factorised. Okay, that's step 1. Now step 2, in order for this to be true, one of the brackets has got to be equivalent to 0. Okay, because 0 times anything is 0. So if we make this bracket here equal to 0, okay, and then afterwards we're going to make this bracket equal to 0. So we're going to get 2 answers for x. Okay, so if x plus 9 equals 0, then x must equal negative 9, because negative 9 plus 9 is 0. So x could be negative 9. Or x plus 11 could equal 0, in which case x could equal negative 11. Okay, because if x is negative 9, I've got 0 multiplied by 2, it's 0. If I've got x being negative 11, well, I've got negative 2 times 0, it's still 0, so it works for both. Okay, so if we're solving a quadratic, it needs to be equal to 0. Okay, so let's have a look at question 2. X squared minus x minus 20. Okay, remember, has to be equal to 0 in order for us to be able to solve it. Step 1, factorise, so I'm going to need my 2 brackets. Equals to 0. Right, pairs of numbers that multiply together to make negative 20. Remember that sign there is really important, so it's negative 21. So I could have negative 1 and 20, or 1 and negative 20, 2 and negative 10, or even negative 2 and 10, 4 and negative 5, or negative 4 and 5. Right, so now I've got all my pairs of numbers. Which 2 numbers add together to make minus 1x? So minus 1 I'm looking for. 19, no. Negative 19, no. Negative 8, 8. Negative 1, so that's what I'm looking for, it's that one. So I'm going to have x plus 4, because that's a plus, and x minus 5. Okay, so factorised. Now to solve, I need to make both of these brackets equivalent to 0. So if x plus 4 equals 0, then x must equal negative 4. Or x minus 5 is equal to 0, in which case x is going to be 5. So I've got two answers for x. Okay, so x is either negative 4 or 5. Right, in this next one, something slightly different. Still a quadratic, but because there is no third term, I can see a common factor here, and that common factor is x. I've got x in both my terms, which means I only need one bracket, and I can put the x, the common factor, outside. So x times something gives me x squared. Well, x times x will give me x squared. And x times something will give me plus 9x. Well, 1 times 9, that's what it'll be. So there we go. Right. So with this one, I've only got one bracket, and I need to make that equivalent to 0. So I'm going to do that first. Okay, so x plus 9 is 0, in which case x is equal to negative 9. Or, quite frankly and quite simply, x could be 0, because if x is 0, because remember, if there's nothing between the number or letter outside the bracket and the bracket, it means to multiply. So if x is 0, 0 multiplied by 9 is still 0. So x could be 0, or x could be negative 9. So we've got negative 9 times 0, still 0. Okay, so just be careful and just notice that when you've got three terms and you've got a common factor, sorry, when you've got two terms and you've got a common factor in both, you only need one bracket. Okay, and then finally, the last example, there's an extra step involved with this last example. So, you can see our equation here is 8x minus x squared equals 12. Now, it doesn't equal 0. So we need to make it equal 0. And what I'm going to do, because I've got a negative x squared here, I don't like negative x squareds. If I can help it, I want them to be positive, because it makes my life so much easier when I'm factorising. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an x squared to both sides, because this will cancel each other out and make nothing, and then I'm just going to add it to this side. So if I draw a line under there, I've now got 8x equals 12 plus x squared. Okay, and remember, I want one of the sides to equal 0, so I'm going to get this side to equal 0. So I'm going to add 8x to both sides. So I've got 0 equals, I'm going to write my x squareds first, and then I'm going to put the 8x next, and then I'm going to put the plus 12 after, just because that's how I like it to be written. It doesn't matter in which order you really write them, but I like to have the x squareds, then the x's, then the numbers. So, next step, factorise. So let's write down our pairs of numbers that multiply together to make plus 12. Okay, so I've got 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, or negative 1 and negative 12, negative 2 and negative 6, or negative 3 and negative 4. Right, what pair of numbers add up together to make plus 8? 13, 8. There we go, 2 and 6. So 0 is equal to x plus 2 multiplied by x plus 6. So if x plus 2 is equal to 0, then x must be negative 2. So we're going through the same process now as we were in the previous questions. Okay, so that first step is different. Or x plus 6 is equal to 0, x must be equal to negative 6. Okay, and that's how we solve a quadratic equation or a quadratic expression by factorising. Okay. So again, just go through the steps, factorise it first, make one of the brackets equal 0, and then make the other bracket equal 0.